handle this much women.
The American people gave us a great opportunity to get America back on the right track.
Michigan makes a stand and comes up with a milestone playoff victory.
Our brightest days are still ahead of us.
We're going to believe in each other. We're not going to criticize each other. We're not going to talk about each other. We're going to encourage each other.
As chairwoman of the unified House Republican Conference, I can say proudly that we are ready to govern. So, my fellow patriots, we are here to celebrate the Republican trifecta that allows us to govern. The American people gave us a mandate to deliver common sense solutions and end Democrats' distorted reality. We are also here to celebrate the fact that Donald Trump is president of these United States of America. Finally, we have a commander-in-chief we can trust, who doesn't need to go to sleep at 5 p.m., and a president who will put America first. Just yesterday, we saw this example of the return of American exceptionalism right on stage. President Trump hadn't even finished the front nine before he successfully forced the Colombian president to take their illegal immigrants back. The days of America being walked all over are long gone, thanks to President Trump and all of you. The past month has been filled with early successes. We've elected Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, on the first round, I might add. We sent Mike Collins, where are you, Mike? We sent Mike Collins' bill, the Lankin-Riley Act, to the president's desk to be signed into law. Congratulations, Mike. Just think, the very first bill that we are sending to the president's desk is a bill about illegal immigration that we all campaigned on. Additionally, we have passed Greg Stubbe's bill to protect women in girls' sports. Thank you, Greg. Where are you, Greg? Nancy Mace put a bill on the floor, and we passed a bill to deport violent illegals. Bruce Westerman's bill to fix our forests. Thank you, Bruce. And Ann Wagner's bill to save babies born alive. We are keeping our promises and delivering results. And there are more wins on the horizon. But we must stick together for the American people. After all, why should anyone block or be opposed to President Trump's agenda or the 77 million Americans that gave us this opportunity to serve? We all want the same outcome: lower costs, a secure border, energy independence, and making our country respected again. That's why we're here this week, to begin drafting the blueprint for that one big, beautiful bill. Now, usually this retreat is held a little bit later in the year, but there's no time to waste. Results are what's matter. And delivering that result is how we keep our promise and how we keep our majority. So before we kick things off, let me run through the top line agenda real quick. At the retreat, we will hear from our commander-in-chief very soon. Our political leaders, Chair Richard Hudson, Chris Winkleman with the Congressional Leadership Fund, and RNC Chairman Michael Whatley. They'll be giving us a postmortem, so to speak, so that we can digest what we did right, what worked, and what we can improve upon. And we're also going to hear from everyone's favorite pollster, Kellyanne Conway. Voters' minds are always changing, and she has a fresh perspective with fresh data and insight ready to shape our messaging. That is going to be key. And on that bill, our committee chairman will provide the latest on their work. Really, it's time to put the pen to the paper. And of course, America's vice president will stop by to speak to all of us. This, of course, will be the first time of many that we'll have heard from him since the inauguration, but I can assure you it won't be the last. I expect we will be in constant communication as we work together to amplify our message and our work together. Now, as conference chairwoman, I'm committed to amplifying all of your voices and ideas, and that includes while we are here in Miami. My team is here to help connect you with media, to help spread your message, to let you tell your story. So we'll be doing side-by-side interviews throughout the week. My team has already reached out and been working with many of you on op-eds and statements. Many of you have attended our inauguration Media Row Day, and I'm happy to discuss any ideas that you may have or how we can amplify your voice better. Remember, we have the right message, and our message is a winning message. The fact is, the House is leading the way. President Trump's legislative agenda starts with us in this room. So let's continue to lead. Let's continue to lead in our messaging. Let's continue to lead in our legislating. It is what we do. The American people are looking to you and us as Republicans, and they are relying on the People's House to deliver. And we won't let them down, because a promise made is a promise kept. And together, we will get the job done. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for the spouses and the families that are here as well, too. Let's give them a round of applause. And thank you, Kelly, and the board of the directors and the Congressional Institute for being such great partners. Enjoy your 3 days.
Folks, we have a special, I think a special treat today. And again, I apologize because I've got this horrible head cold. And hopefully my voice will stand. One of the two mayors that I'm going to bring up is someone that you all know really well, because he's a colleague of ours in Congress. And you know who I'm talking about. We know him as a smart, no-nonsense, common-sense, tough colleague. But before that, and I think what makes him more proud, what he's most proud of, is that he was a firefighter. And then he worked his way up as a firefighter in the city of Miami. He became chief of the firefighters in the city of Miami. He was also appointed city manager of Miami. Then he was a Miami-Dade County commissioner, and then Miami-Dade County mayor. And let's welcome our friend, our colleague, Carlos Jimenez first. Mayor, chief. And now, it's also my privilege to introduce you to a person that I've known well for decades and decades. I think, by the way, one of America's finest mayors. He represents really kind of the largest city that I represent. He's the mayor of the city of Hialeah. He was council president. He was in the state legislature. He's got decades of experience. And he was also, a Miami-Dade commissioner as well. But I'll tell you, very special thing for me, because you know that Republicans revere our veterans, right, and our heroes. His father was a hero in the Bay of Pigs. And here's a man who's never forgotten how important freedom is. One of, I think, the nation's best mayors, Steve Bovell from the city of Hialeah. Mayor. Lisa asked me to moderate, but here's the scoop. You got two Cubans on stage. They're not going to need an incentive to speak. So I will sit over here, let you guys go, but I'll just throw one question. 3 Cubans, that's a conspiracy. I said a little while ago, if you could hear it, that I thought that one of the reasons Florida, in particular South Florida, has become Republican is because of the Republicans in the House always standing firm, never getting confused on the issue of free Cuba or free Venezuela or free Nicaragua. Am I exaggerating? Is that the truth? And then I will just let you guys go.
Start off. All right. Can I stand up? I feel okay. I don't want to block it. All right. First of all, I want to thank all of you in South Florida. It's really a pleasure to be able to come and speak to all of you. And I guess this is going to be kind of free flowing, but I do want to start off with this preface. Dade County, in essence, the beauty of Dade County, it's been built on chaos in someplace else. So I want you to get your mind around this for a second. If there's chaos in Cuba, Miami-Dade counties reap the benefit of it. In Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti, when there's been chaos in Central, South America, and the Caribbean, the natural starting point of rebuilding lives has been here in Miami-Dade County. So I want to start off by saying that because it's important for you all to understand that I happen to represent a city that is perhaps an anomaly in the sense that we are an immigrant, legal immigrant, Cuban-American community that votes overwhelmingly Republican. To the point, yeah, you can applaud for that, to the point that in this last election, our city voted 76% for President Trump and his agenda. And they endorsed that agenda because they are products of chaos in someplace else. And Congressman Diaz-Balart earlier mentioned the word socialism. In my community, we call it for what it is. It's communism. Now, we thought communism was dead after the Cold War. It was abolished. But its ugly head continues to raise itself under this sanitized version of socialism. But make no mistake about it, in its purest form, it is it's communism, and its goal is to completely restrict the freedom of individuals. And that's why in my community, not only have we rejected it solidly, but we are voting Republican, and it isn't now, as a matter of fact. Now, it's been going on for years. And I think it's important to understand that when the House and the Senate stand on the side of a free Cuba, of a free Nicaragua, of a free Venezuela, they're endorsing many of those that all they long for is the same opportunities in their countries. Because history has shown us, in any of these cases, there has never, ever, until communism showed up, has there ever been a movement of migration or exiles. It didn't happen until communism came. And that's why in our communities, I would say, Congressman, that we are so aware and careful about this narrative. And it is why many Hispanics voted Republican in this election, because they understand exactly what chaos looks like. They've seen it. They've fled it. They've come to the beacon of freedom because they don't want to be a participant in that kind of nonsense. And I would say, Congressman, that's for us at the ground level, in the trenches in cities, why we are so appreciative and encouraged to be headstrong against this, because you're going to get the pushback from the media. You're going to get pushback from Democrats that want to vilify the Republicans and their approach on this. But my friends, I don't think there's a clean way of doing these things. It has to be hardcore with a clear-cut mission, and understand that what you're doing, your work, is making our jobs at the local level a lot easier. I don't know if you agree with me or not, Congressman, but...
How could I disagree? Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I want to say welcome to Miami. I'm sorry about the clouds. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it's pretty nice weather, I think. It's a lot better than D.C. But I was the mayor here for close to 10 years, and this community, and very proud to be the mayor of this community. I'm very proud to serve in Congress, representing a part of my community, not the same as the entire Miami-Dade County. So I'm gonna kind of add on to what Mayor Bobo has said. I'll give you an example of what happened in my district, Florida's 28th district. In 2016, President Trump lost it by 16 points. In 2020, he won it by 5. And now he won it something like by 25. It wasn't that we had a mass migration. We didn't have a mass migration of people in and out. Same people. But as the mayor said, yeah, his community is predominantly Cuban American. But in my district, it's about, the Hispanics are 70%, but half of them are Cuban American, which are Republican. All right. The other half, they're from Nicaragua, they're from Venezuela, they're from El Salvador, they're from different places. And a lot of them were Democrats. They were Democrats. And that's why this county, in 2020, I think President Trump lost the county by about 7%. In 16, he lost it by 20 or something percent. And he just won Miami-Dade County in 2024. First time that a Republican presidential candidate had won the Miami-Dade County vote in a heck of a long time. And so you say, well, what happened? What happened? There is a clear line and a clear difference between the values of the Democrat Party and the values of the Republican Party. When people ask me, hey, how do we reach Hispanics? You reach Hispanics the way you reach everybody else. What do we care about? What do we care about? God, family, work, opportunity. We don't want any handouts. We want to work hard, and we want to achieve that American dream. And so that's the message that actually brought the Hispanics that used to be Democrats over to our side. We're not woke. We believe in two genders. We believe there's men and there's women, and that men shouldn't be competing in women's sports. All that stuff that the Democrats believe in, Hispanics don't believe in it. We're not Latinx. And by the way, if you ever say that to me, you're insulting me. My language is based on two genders, A for female, O for male. We have no Latinx. You're either Latino or you're Latina. That's it. And so you're trying to change my language of 2,000 years? That's also insulting. And so the way to reach us is the way you reach everybody else. But if you notice, the people here, people who are elected, we kind of, we speak Spanish. We're Hispanic origin. I was born in somewhere else. I was born in Cuba, but I think, Mario, you were born here in the United States. He was born in Queens, okay? But we can communicate to that constituency in their own language, and we can. And so when people say, hey, how can we reach, the Hispanic community and across the nation? I think one of the things that we do here is that we're on media a lot. We're on radio a lot. People know who we are. They know our stance. And so Hispanics they like, especially here, they listen to Cuban Hispanic radio. They watch Telemundo, they watch Univision, etc. And so they need to see more of us, Republicans, especially on the national stage, bringing our message to them. And for too long, we've been kind of shy. Well, gee, I don't want to go on Telemundo. I don't want to go on Univision because, oh my God, they're so liberal and et cetera, et cetera. No, man, you got to go right after them. Okay? And yeah, I want to be on Telemundo. I want to be on Univision. I want to be on Channel 23. I want to be on that radio station. And I've got to deliver that message. And that's what we have to do. Deliver the message that, yes, Ronald Reagan said it best. Hispanics or Republicans, they just haven't figured it out yet. Well, they're starting to figure it out. And I truly believe that the future of our party lies in the coalition of conservative Hispanics and the American people. If we don't reach out to Hispanics, if we don't capture them, we will be in the minority in the not too distant future, because we are the fastest growing minority. We already have overtaken African Americans as the biggest minority in the United States. And yes, don't be afraid. We share your values. We do. We share your values. And look, I think the three of us are pretty good examples of who we are. We're conservative. And then the final thing about Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, and everything else. The people that are here are fleeing their country for a reason. Most people want to stay in their country. They're fleeing their country for a reason. Some for economic reasons, yeah, but a lot of them are fleeing because they're seeking freedom. and they're getting away from oppressive regimes. So we have to be the party that is against those oppressive regimes. We have to be the party that says we are going to work to liberate the people of Venezuela and Cuba and Nicaragua and anybody else in this hemisphere that is suffering under a dictatorship and an oppressive regime, because the United States needs to be the champion of democracy and liberty in our hemisphere. That's our values too. And if you do that, then I think we're going to be okay. It just wasn't a coincidence that you saw that shift in my district, in this county, in this state, many of which is the Hispanics moving over and making this a solid red state. Why? Because we delivered those messages. And so I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Well,
Steve?
they're giving a sign here that says, we're ready, please wrap up. So I don't want to get a hook, right? I just wanted to, the congressman mentioned the shift in voting patterns since 2016 all the way to this point. There's one hiccup there that I think is very important for all of you to get your arms around. In 2020, Donald Trump and I happened to be on the ballot. I was running for mayor to replace Congressman Jimenez. And I can tell you this, we felt an incredible amount of enthusiasm out on the street. And when election time came around, Donald Trump led the charge here in Miami-Dade County and picked up a historic amount of Republican votes, never before. And I happened to be second to him as far as the amount of Republican votes, yet we still lost the election. And something became clear. Number one, pandemic. And the worst thing that we could possibly do gets seduced with this narrative that we had to flood the community with absentee ballots. And there is a lot of talk of states talking about doing this, doing away, just absentee and all this. It is the worst thing that you could possibly do, because you lose control, complete control of the integrity of your election. Because imagine in somebody's house, 5 ballots show up, one person could vote for all of them, have everybody in their house sign, and you turn in. That's a direct violation of our democracy and our ability to vote, and Democrats took full advantage of it. That I would tell you, in 2020, Donald Trump should have won Dade County. Easily won Dade County because the enthusiasm was there. And if it happened here in Florida, and we have good voter integrity here, but if it happened here in Florida, Lord knows what was going on in other states, those swing states. So I would tell you, we must draw a red line in the sand on any narrative that talks about, absentee ballots, and if you don't do it, voter suppression. It's all bunk. Bunk. God bless all of you, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our colleague Carlos Jimenez and Mayor Steve Vogel.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Our program will continue shortly.
Picture that with a Kodak, or better yet, go to Times Square, take a picture of me with a Kodak. Took my life from negative to positive, I just want y'all to know that. And tonight, let's enjoy life. Pitbull, Naya, Neo, that's right.
I want all of you tonight. Give me everything tonight. For all we know, we might not get tomorrow. Let's do it tonight. Somebody sexy, tell them, hey, give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything tonight. Give me everything.
Put your hands to the night, cause tomorrow I'm off to do battle, perform for a princess. But tonight, I can make you my queen and make love to you endless. It's insane the way the name growing, money keep flowing. Hustlers moving silent, so I'm tiptoeing. So keep flowing, I got it locked up like Lindsay Lohan. Put it on my life, baby. I'ma give you a ride, baby. Can't promise tomorrow, but I promise tonight. Excuse me, and I might drink a little more than I should tonight. And I might take you home with me if I could tonight. top of your girl. When I'm involved with this deeper than the Masons, baby, and it ain't no secret. My family's from Cuba, but I'm an American. I don't get money like secrets. Put it on my life, baby. I'll make it feel right, baby. Can't promise tomorrow, but I promise tonight. Darling. Excuse me, and I might drink a little more than I should tonight. And I might take you home with me if I could tonight. And baby, I'ma make you feel so good tonight. Cause we might not get tomorrow. Best. You can be the King Kong banging on your chest.
You can beat the world, you can beat the war. You can talk to God, go banging on his door.
You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock.
Yeah.
You can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
You can be a master, don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you can find yourself.
Standing in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
Cause you're man with the most fame.
Yeah.
And the world's gonna know your name.
Yeah.
And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame. You can go the distance, you can run the mile. You can walk straight through hell with a smile.
You could be the hero, you could get the gold. Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke.
Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. And you're never gonna know if you never even try.
Do it for your country, do it for your name. Cause there's gonna be a day when you're
Standing in the Hall of Fame. And the world's gonna know your name. Cause you're man with the most fame. And the world's gonna know your name. And you'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame.
Be a champion. Be a champion. Be a champion. Be a champion.
Be students, be teachers, be politicians, be preachers. Yeah. Be believers, be leaders, be astronauts, be champions, be truth seekers. Be students, be teachers, be politicians, be preachers. Yeah. Be believers, be leaders, be astronauts, be champions. Standing in the Hall of Fame. And the world's gonna know your name. Cause you're man with the most fame. And the world's gonna know your name. You'll be on the walls of the Hall of Fame.
Be a champion.
You can be the best. You can be a champion. Banging on your chest.
You can be a champion. Be the world. You can be a champion. Banging on the wall. You can be a champion.
You can move a mountain. You can break rocks.
You can be a champion. Don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself and you'll find yourself.
You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love.
a man insane. You broke my will, but what a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I let you love what I thought it was funny. You came along and woo, now honey, I've changed my mind. This love is fine. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Kisses, baby. Feels good. Hold me, baby. Well, I want to love you like I love you should. You're fine, so kind. Got to tell this world that you're mine. I cheat my nails and I twiddle my thumb. I'm real nervous, but it sure is fun. Come on, baby. It drives me crazy. It's just great balls of fire. Hold me, baby. Well, I want to love you like I love you should. You're fine, so kind. Got to tell this world that you're mine. That you're my nails and I twiddle my thumb. Real nervous, but it sure is fun. Come on, baby, drive me crazy. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can't go with other boys. And don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to say. And please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display, 'cause you don't own me. Don't try to change me in any way. You don't own me. Don't tie me down, 'cause I'd never stay. I don't tell you what to say. I don't tell you what to do. So just let me be myself. That's all I ask of you. I'm young and I love to be young. I'm free and I love to be free. To live my life the way I want. To say and do whatever I please. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to say. And please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. I don't tell you what to say. Don't tell you what to do. So just let me be myself. That's all I ask of you. I'm young and I love to be young.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 please don't take him just because you can. Your beauty is beyond compare, with flaming locks of auburn hair, with ivory skin and eyes of emerald green. Your smile is like a breath of spring, your voice is soft like summer rain, and I cannot compete with you, Jolene. He talks about about you in his sleep, and there's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. And I can easily understand how you could easily take my man, but you don't know what he means to me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
everybody be serving like California. You'd see them wearing their baggies, Warachi sandals too, a bushy blonde hairdo, serving USA. You'll catch them surfing at the Ventura County line, Santa Cruz and Trinidad, Australia's Caribbean, all over Manhattan, and down Tahiti way. Everybody's gone surfing USA. We'll all be planning out a route we're gonna take real soon. We're waxing down our surfboard, we can't wait for June. We'll all be gone for the summer, we're on safari to stay. Tell the teacher we're surfing USA. And Anchorage and Swan, Pacific Palisades, San Onofre and Sun, Redondo Beach, LA, all over La Jolla, at Waimea Bay. Everybody's gone surfing USA. Surfing USA. Everybody's gone surfing USA. Everybody's gone surfing USA. Yeah, everybody's gone surfing USA. Yeah, everybody's gone surfing. Come on over, baby, whole lot of shaking going on. Yes, I say come on over, baby, baby, you can't go wrong. We ain't faking, whole lot of shaking going on. Well, I say come on over, baby, we got chicken in the corner. Woo, huh? Come on over, baby, baby, got to move out of horn. We ain't faking. Oh, lot of shaking going on. Yeah, I said shake, baby, shake it. I said shake, baby, shake it. I said shake it, baby, shake it. I said shake, baby, shake. Come on over. Oh, lot of shaking going on. Oh, let's go. Shake it, baby. Yeah. You can shake it one time with me. Has to come over, baby. Well, I'll shake it going on. Now let's get real low one time now. Shake it, baby, shake it. All you gotta do, honey, is kind of stand in one spot. Wiggle around just a little bit. That's what you got. Yeah. Now let's go one time. Shake it, baby, shake it. Shake it, baby, shake it. Ooh, shake it, baby. Come on, baby, shake it, baby, shake it. Come on over. Oh, a lot of shaking going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressional Institute President Kelly Strickland.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. It is my distinct honor to introduce the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Thank you all so much. We have been waiting a while, and you've been very patient, and it will be well worth it. My friends, I want to welcome you to Doral International, Trump's fantastic property, and to the new golden age of America. America's back, my friends. That's right. America really is Our allies and our friends are encouraged again, and our adversaries are nervous. They're on notice. They see what's happening because something has changed. There's a new sheriff in town, and American strength is back, and we have been so excited for that. The country has been waiting upon it, and the reason for that is because our new president is back in the White House, the 47th president of the United States. He doesn't need a long introduction, and I won't give you one, but I would just say this. The first week in office was the most momentous of any that anyone can remember, probably of any administration, and he's already accomplished more for the American people than his predecessor did in all 4 years. There's more of that to come. That's right. And as House Republicans and Republicans in the Senate and the House join together, we are going to bring forward the America First agenda. We will be a part of this new renaissance in America, the new golden age, and it begins right now. My friends, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to introduce to you tonight the 45th and the 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Let's hear it.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least
much, everybody. I want to thank you all and congratulate. This is a very big congratulations to our re-elected House Republican majority on your largest popular vote. Did you know that since 1928? That's a long time, Mike, right? That's a long time. But I especially want to thank our outstanding leadership team. Speaker Mike Johnson, we all know so well. He's doing great. Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who's gone through so much. And he looks better today than he did 10 years ago. I don't know what's going on. Thank you very much, Steve. You look great. Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Tom, thank you. Great job. And House Conference Chair Lisa McLean. Lisa, thank you very much. Great job. Thanks as well to all of the incredible House members and staff for your tireless work on behalf of our country, along with Congressional Institute CEO Kelly Strickland. Thank you very much. Thank you. Kelly, thank you very much. So we have Kellyanne Conway. Nobody knows Kellyanne. Does anybody know? Where's Kellyanne? She's around. What? She's so good. She's a good person, too. She's a good person, too. And the mayor of Hialeah, I love this guy because he said, sir, we want to name a major boulevard after you. And he did it. Anybody that names a boulevard after me, I like him a lot. Esteban Bovo and Hialeah, mayor of Hialeah, thank you, wherever you may be. Esteban, where are you? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great honor, actually. A lot of people come back from Hialeah. They say, they just named a road after you. I said, that's okay. It's a beginning, right? It's a start. With the help of everyone in this room, we've just won the most epic, consequential political victory in American history, according to a lot. One of the major fake newspapers, so in this case it's not fake news, let's say, but they said it's the most consequential election victory in the last 129 years. I'm trying to figure out what that means, 120. Who was there 129 years ago? But it was a great one. At the presidential level, we won the popular vote for the first time of any Republican in decades. We swept all 7 swing states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada by very, very big margins, record-setting. And for the first time ever, all 50 states, did you know this? Shifted toward the Republican Party. We've never had that before. Nobody has, actually. It's never happened before. That's pretty good. You must be doing a good job, fellas. We won the largest number of African-American voters in Republican history, including 39% of black men, a record by a lot. So that's really nice. Thank you. And we won more Hispanic American votes than any Republican ever. It's never won any, not even close. Look at that, Hispanic American. We made historic strides with youth, men, women, urban, suburban, and rural voters. And in a political earthquake, yeah, sit down, just enjoy it. What the hell, we're going to be here for a little while. But in a political earthquake, we won a wave of support from labor unions, including massive numbers of auto workers, which gave us Michigan as an example. Think of that. We won Michigan easily, and we did tremendous with the auto workers. And an overwhelming majority of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. The Teamsters were great. They showed up in droves, and we won them by a lot. Together, we're forging a new political majority that's shattering and replacing Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal coalition, which dominated American politics for over 100 years. That's what we're doing. And what Mike said before, common sense. It is a little bit of common sense. Maybe it's a lot of common sense. Under our leadership, the Republican Party has become the proud voice of hardworking American citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. We become the party of the American dream and wealth creation for everyone, not just the rich. If we do our job over the next 21 months, not only will House Republicans be reelected and expand our majority in 2026, we will cement a national governing coalition that will preserve American freedom for generations to come. There has never been anything like what's happened in politics in the last few years. Never been anything like it. Everybody, people of religion, everybody is seems to be with us. I don't know how anybody could even vote for the other side. In many cases, they don't, but they do get credit for it. You'll have to think about that. I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. I think I'm not allowed to run again. I'm not sure. Am I allowed to run again, Mike? I better not get you involved in that argument. No, we raised a lot of money, a tremendous amount, and our teletown halls are something that's very special that nobody else is able to even contemplate using. We've gotten a lot of people elected with those teletown halls. We have 25, 30,000 people on just in a congressional area, and they win easy. It works for Elvis, the Beatles, and it doesn't work for anyone else, but it works for Trump. And we would have tremendous crowds on those calls, and I think I'll bet we got 35, 40 people elected because of the town halls. But I did say to them, and I said, this is the greatest, the person that sort of has the rights to it, and he happens to be a great Republican. I said, this is the greatest invention. This thing is going to make a fortune. He said, no, it's not that good, actually, because it only works for you. He said, actually, sir, it only works for you because somebody else they're not picking up, so I'm honored to have that privilege, and I used it carefully, but we've done a lot of the teletown halls for people, and I don't think we've ever lost one, right? It's hard to lose one, even if you only get 5,000 or 6,000 people on a congressional race, but we've done them for states, we've done them for governors, and we've done them for senators, and we did a couple countrywide. I did a couple for myself countrywide. They're absolutely amazing, and we got the message out through that and lots of other means. We even got it out through TikTok. Has anyone ever heard of TikTok? I have a little bias toward TikTok right now, I have to tell you. So we won youth by the largest margin, no Republican. We generally don't win youth. We won by 36 points. Can you imagine that? And I think TikTok had something to do. So pardon me if I'm a little bit, I became a little bit jaded toward TikTok, but we'll see what happens. We're going to have a lot of people bidding on it. And if we can save all that voice and all the jobs, and China won't be involved. You don't want China involved, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But over the past 7 days, my administration has been moving with urgency and historic speed to reverse every single disaster of the Biden administration. By the way, the guy was a disaster, okay? We want to be nice. And he's probably not listening right now because it's a little late. But, I don't want him to listen. I don't want to say it. I feel badly. I was, making the inauguration speech, and I'm saying all the bad things. And he's sitting like right here. I'm saying they were a horrible administration. They didn't know what they were doing. They were grossly incompetent. I got a guy sitting right next to me. It's not that easy to do, even though he didn't understand what I was saying. He really did. And deliver on the mandate that we've been given by the American people. In a single week, I've taken over 350 executive actions. We've signed 300, and who ever heard of that one? And as I said in my inaugural address, the American decline is over. It's over. The golden age of America has officially begun, and I think that's a good thing for us to talk about, the golden age and the American dream. I think it's a good thing because people haven't been talking that way for a long period of time. On day one, I directed every member of my cabinet to marshal all powers at their disposal to defeat inflation and bring down the cost of daily life, and we're going to do that. You're going to see it starting to happen when we get going with the energy. The energy is going to, brought everything up, and it's going to bring everything down. I imposed a federal hiring freeze, a federal regulation freeze, a foreign aid freeze. A foreign aid freeze, isn't that nice? We get tired of giving massive amounts of money to countries that hate us, don't we? And I created the new Department of Government Efficiency, and I think it's going to be very meaningful. I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Scam, one of the great scams in history. Actually, isn't it 12 years up? They gave us 12 years to live, right? I think that we passed it, right? We're still around. Can you believe it? The person that really came up with it is a person that never even took a course on the environment, was a poor student, not a good student, didn't understand a lot, and she came up with this idea, and everybody all of a sudden started going, and then mainstream, important Democrat leaders were starting, they got sucked into it, and we've spent trillions of dollars on just like throwing it out the window. You could throw it out the window, you would have been better off. I withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord, and I canceled It was so one-sided. You know, we had obligations, but Russia didn't, China didn't, other countries didn't. We paid everything. We're going to lose $1 trillion over a short period of time on that. And we had to do everything. They didn't have to do anything. It was ridiculous. And I canceled the insane and very costly electric vehicle mandate. So you can buy a car of your choice. If you like gasoline, go have it. And if you like hybrids are doing well. You can have it, or you can buy an electric car. We like electric. We like everything, but you have to have a right to buy everything. I withdrew from the World Health Organization, where we paid $500 million a year, and China paid just $39 million a year, despite a much larger population. How about that? So we're paying $500 million a year. China's paying $39 million a year. They have 1.4 billion people. We have, nobody knows what we have. So many people came across the border. Nobody has any idea. I used to say like 325, but we really don't know. But we're going to know soon. We're going to know. And I tell you, our people are doing a fun. Tom Homan and his staff are doing an incredible job getting the bad ones out. I declared a national energy emergency to unlock the liquid gold that's right under our feet, because we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. It's going to bring down prices, and your energy costs are going to go way down, and that'll happen, I think, relatively quickly. I'm going to give fast environmental approval for anybody building a plant for electric generation, and anybody that invests more than $1 billion will get super rapid approval. Not that they have to wait for 9 years, 14 years, like I approved LNG plants in Louisiana. They were waiting for so many years. It wasn't Louisiana's fault. It was some people, they just wouldn't get them done. You've got a snail here, a tiny tree here, and I got it done in a matter of a few days. I actually got it done. It took them 14 years. I got it done in about 3 days. The people, as we called them, I'll never forget, I called them and I said, congratulations, you got your permit. What? They were so shell-shocked. They didn't know what the hell was happening. They're going to spend, and they spent about $16 billion on each plant, and they've been roaring since then. But we got them done in a matter of a few days. Over the past week, we've begun the largest deregulation campaign in history, far exceeding even the record-setting efforts in my first name. That was record-setting deregulation, and that was just as big as tax cuts as far as business and jobs were concerned, I'll tell you. I actually asked, you know, it's interesting because I actually asked some of the biggest businessmen in the country, I said, let me ask you, have you had the choice between the big tax cuts? You know, we cut it from 40% to 21%. We're going to cut it further, but we cut it down to 20. Everybody said that would be impossible. The people on the stage helped us with that one a lot. But I said, if you had your choice of that or the big deregulation cuts, what would you take? These are the guys that run the big companies, the big oil companies, the big companies of every kind. I said, would you take the big tax cut or the big cut in regulations? And I've never had anybody said they'll take the tax cut. They took the regulation cut. I'll bet I asked that question 100 times to 100 of the biggest people. They always said, sir, we'll take the regulation cut. You opened us up. You let us create all these jobs that we've all seen happen. So it was even bigger than the big tax cut. I also signed an order to end the weaponization of our government against the American people and investigate all abuses of power. And I stopped government censorship once and for all, and we brought back free speech to America. That's what happened. We're going to bring it back. We didn't have free speech. We didn't have free speech. I mean, I was investigated more than any human being in history. Alphonse Capone was a baby. Now, this was a serious killer, Scarface. You've all heard of Scarface. He had a scar for a reason. He didn't play games, but he was Scarface. Of course, nobody ever called him Scarface to his face. They said, Al, you look great today. Guy had a scar that was like 2 inches thick that ran from here to here. And they said, Al, you look fantastic. But Scarface was not investigated as much as your president was investigated. And it turned out to be a positive thing for me. Can you believe it? It turned out to be, we got a lot of votes. I think we got a lot of votes because they saw it was weaponization. It was a fight against a political opponent. I ordered the end to all of the lawless diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense policies across the government and all across the private sector and the military. we got it. We're getting it out, and we've gotten it out pretty much. We did that in 1 week, and it wasn't that easy, but everybody wanted it. People that were strongly in favor of it, I thought, called me and said, thank God you got rid of that. That was so bad. It was so bad we hated it. We abolished 60 years of prejudice and hatred with the signing of one order, all approved by the Supreme Court of the United States. It was a big thing, and the United States has become a meritocracy again. We are a country that's based now on merit for success. Merit. If you're good at what you do, you're going to go places. I made it and who would have thought that was going to happen? We didn't even talk about that one because I figured that one was going to be toughest to get. And so we are now, if you do a meritorious job, if you do something where you're just outstanding, you advance. And that's what it's about. It's about competition, and it's about a lot of things. And the other becomes a very dangerous plateau. We were on that plateau too long, and it's one of the reasons that you saw very bad things happening with our country. I made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. Gee, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. Some of these people say like 7 genders. I'm trying to say, go and name them. They got some weird stuff going on. No, we have 2 genders. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, and we are restoring the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley in Alaska in honor of the incredible people of the state of Ohio who loved their governor and loved the man that became president. He was the big tariff sheriff, they used to call him, and made a lot of money. Our country became very rich, and when he was assassinated, Teddy Roosevelt became president, and he spent all of that money that was made from tariffs. The money was so enormous, and they built the thing called the Panama Canal. You might have read about this lately. It's become a hot subject because China essentially has taken it over, and we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. It was the biggest investment to this day ever made by the country. In other words, if you bring it up to modern day numbers, we spent money that we've never spent anything so much. We've never had so many people die. 38,000 people died building the Panama Canal 110 years ago. And they gave it away for $1. It's also one of the most profitable things ever built. You know, ships are lined up back to Florida trying to get through. We're not gonna let that happen. It wasn't the deal. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, sort of, I guess. But they haven't behaved properly. Perhaps most importantly, I declared a national emergency to stop the invasion of our southern border. We're going to stop that invasion. We've already done it. And today in Tijuana, you probably saw, I got a call from Tom Homan and some of the people. They said, sir, it's unbelievable. There is nobody. You have this huge area. It's a gathering area. It's always been packed with these people. What they did to our country is so unbelievable. That they could do this to our country is so horrible. But he said there's nobody there. And then they actually put it on television. I got to see it. And there was literally not one person, this vast area where people stay there all day long and they just walk right into our country. They just unchecked, no way, no check-in for IDs like voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat. They wanted these people to come in because they want to cheat too. But who could allow this to happen? But there wasn't one person standing in this massive an area that's like 5 football fields that was packed for years under these horrible people that wanted to kill our country. We halted all illegal entry. We have successfully ended catch and release, and we're deporting 100% of all new trespassers apprehended at the border, and nobody's coming in, and nobody's coming now because they know they're not going to be able to come in. So we've really stopped something that was very, very serious. But we have to get the bad ones out. We have many murderers, many very bad people in our country that they've allowed because of a ridiculous, actually stupid, open border policy. I've also deployed troops to the border, and for the first time in history, we're locating and loading illegal aliens into military aircraft and flying them back to the places from which they came. And very importantly, America is respected again. We're respected again. Isn't that nice? You know, after years of laughing at us like we're stupid people. And as you saw yesterday, we've made it clear to every country that they will be taking back our people that we're sending out, the criminals, the illegal aliens coming from their countries. We're taking them back, and they're going to take them back fast. And if they don't, they'll pay a very high economic price, and we're going to immediately install massive tariffs. It'll be placed on them and other sanctions, but the tariffs, I told you, most beautiful word in the dictionary. I also told you that I said that the first time and I got just absolutely decimated by the fake news, you know? I said, it's the most beautiful word, and the fake news said, what about religion? What about God? What about love? So now I say it's the fourth most favorite word in the dictionary. It's God, love, it's all these other things, but I say number 4, but God, love, religion, tariff, fourth. Another couple of weeks, it'll be like 10. Hopefully it's going to stay in the top 10, but the fake news went after me, Tom, because I didn't say the first 3. And now now that I say it, immediately say it. I'm sure they're going to find some others. Throughout the week, the heroes of ICE have been hunting down and arresting hundreds of illegal alien criminals per day, including those with charges and convictions for rape, child sexual assault, terrorism, and even murder. Many murders and in the crowd, and many of these murderers have committed far more than one murder. This is not going to work out, and we're going to get them the hell out of here. And members of the savage Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Agua and MS-13, including 50 violent individuals who were rounded up in Aurora, Colorado, which the Venezuelan gang took over. The governor, who's a radical left governor, was petrified. He didn't know what to do. He said, no, it's not that bad. They've only taken over a couple of apartment houses. See, they went into the real estate business. They did it unconventionally. They did it with guns. We have to go out and borrow or use cash to buy. They just did it with guns. They took over. He said, no, it's not that bad. They only took over a couple of buildings. We're tracking down the illegal alien criminals. We're detaining them, and we are throwing them the hell out of our country. We have no apologies, and we're moving forward very fast. They're very dangerous people. They're very dangerous people. They're violent people. I used to say these are more violent than our criminals. In fact, the best part about them is they make our criminals look quite nice, actually, by comparison. They are very violent people. We also have many violent criminals in our country, however, that did not necessarily come here illegally, but have been arrested 30 times, 35 times, 41, 42 times in a couple of cases, 25 times, 18 times. Many for murder and other heinous charges, such as pushing people into subways. As the train's coming along at 45 miles an hour, boom, you get pushed into the subway. They had it last week. Hitting them in the head with baseball bats while they're not looking, punching old ladies in the face, knocking them unconscious, and stealing their purse. They even break into apartments and rape elderly women and beat up elderly men, beat them to hell. And I don't want these violent repeat offenders in our country any more than I want illegal aliens from other countries who misbehave. And I say, and this is subject to getting it approved, but if they've been arrested many, many times, they're repeat offenders by many numbers, I want them out of our country. I also will be seeking permission to do so. We're going to get approval, hopefully, to get them the hell out of our country along with others. Let them be brought to a foreign land and maintained by others for a very small fee, as opposed to be maintained in our jails for massive amounts of money, including the private prison companies that charge us a fortune. Now, let them be brought out of our country and let them live there for a while. Let's see how they like it. You'll see crime all over the country dry up. Essentially, that's what Venezuela and other countries are doing. They're getting rid of their criminals and putting them into the United States of America. And their crime is down by almost 80%. We're going to restore law and order in America, and we want to bring back the death penalty for these horrible people that kill people. They kill people. It's always a tough thing to say because I don't like it. Nobody likes it. But if you don't do it, we're just looking for trouble. I spent a lot of time with President Xi, and I'll never forget in my first meeting, I said, do Do you have a drug problem? No, 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 we have no drug problem. Why is that? Quick trial. What is quick trial? Quick trial is that we try the person that sells the drugs immediately, and at the end of the day, we execute that person if that person is guilty. We have no drug problem whatsoever, and that's the most severe case. But wherever you have no drug problem, you have the death penalty. So, and drugs causes a lot of the crime. A lot of the crime in our country is caused by drugs. It's a terrible situation. Comes through the southern border. Most of it is fentanyl coming in from China. And you know, it's very interesting. China, when I was with President Xi, I had a deal worked out with him that they were going to give their maximum punishment, which is the death penalty to anybody making fentanyl and sending it into the United States. Then we had a very unusual result in an election. We had a rigged election. We had a very unusual result, and that went nowhere. It was all set to be, he would have absolutely done it. He was ready. We shook hands on it, and then Biden, of course, didn't follow it up. He didn't follow anything up. But if that would have happened, you would have had a lot less fentanyl deaths, I can tell you. You would have had very little fentanyl coming into the southern border. Last week, I also signed an order that will designate the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. That's a very big designation. And as we are fighting hard to get birthright citizenship or automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens, that's another way. It's automatic citizenship for children of illegal aliens. That's the other term that they use, which is actually more accurate, more understandable. And it's ridiculous. We're the only country that has it, and certainly the only country that has it to that extent. And it wasn't meant, if you look, it was really meant for children of slaves. This is when it happened. The children of slaves, it was not meant for everyone to come into our country by airplane or charging across the borders from all over the world and think they're going to become citizens. It's not meant for that. It wasn't meant for that. And hopefully at some point the courts will understand that without having to go through a whole big deal. This was meant for the children of slaves. And look at the timing of it, and you'll see, and I hope judges will understand that. And it has to stop, because it's really hurting our country very badly. In the coming weeks, I'm looking forward to working with Congress on a reconciliation bill that financially takes care of our plans to totally and permanently restore the sovereign borders of the United States once and for all. This should include full funding for a record increase in border security personnel and retention bonuses for ICE and Border Patrol. These people are incredible people. I got to know them so well. I was on the phone with them all the time when I was president. When she was the border czar, she never called them. Remember? We went like 4 years and they started asking her, did you ever speak to him? No. We asked the Border Patrol, did you ever speak to the head of the Border Patrol? Did you ever speak to the vice president who was your border czar? No, I never got to speak to her. This was a terrible thing that was going on. This was a con job. We also need a massive increase in the number of detention beds and funding for all border security infrastructure and barriers, including the completion of the border wall. We did 500 miles of wall, and that's one of the reasons we had the lowest number. You remember the famous chart that I looked to my right, bring down the chart, and I looked to my right, something went right by he. But that chart, I don't know if they have it now, frankly, I didn't tell them to bring it, but they're very competent people. They might. If you have the chart, put it up. If you don't, that's okay too. But that chart showed that we had the lowest number of illegals coming into our country in history. And I love the chart. Even if it didn't show that, I would have loved that chart, because that chart, I wouldn't be here right now without that particular chart. But it was pretty amazing. It was really amazing. And we did a great job. We had the lowest, the week I left office, we had the lowest number of illegal immigrants coming into our country that we ever had. Simultaneously, we must make a record investment in interior enforcement, including deportation flights and aircraft, as well as funding for our new task force to eradicate the presence of foreign gangs. We have some of the worst foreign gangs. It's not even believable. And criminal networks that have brought devastating crime to American soil. We're getting them all out. We're getting them all out. I won on that, you know. It's like some people explain it very well. They say, gee whiz, you know, they look at the people. As you know, in Colombia, they agreed with us almost immediately after I got involved. And Marco Rubio and I worked together. He did a great job. And we really did. And Mike Waltz, we have a great group of people. But we were being scolded because we had them in shackles in an airplane. And he said, this is no way to treat people. Now, you understand, these are murderers, drug lords, gang members, just the toughest people you've ever met or seen. How would you like to be the pilot of a plane? You got 2 pilots up there, and you got 300 people sitting in a plane. Every one of them either a murderer, a drug lord, a kingpin of some kind, the head of the mob, or a gang member. And you're flying that plane, it's not going to end well. Do you ever see the movie Con Air? That's what, yeah, except here's the difference. The people in Con Air were actors. They weren't nearly as tough as these guys. I would say that that plane would be gone before it ever left. Those pilots would be gone before it ever left. So they don't want us to shackle them. I don't want to be in that plane. I want to thank every Republican House member for voting to pass the Lake and Riley Act, the first enforcement only bill that's been passed in 3 decades. I met the parents of Laken, and they were incredible people. They were just so devastated. I mean, can't even explain to you. You can't say somebody's life is over, but essentially their life is so different, and it can never be the same. She was beautiful. She was great, great person. But to have a bill of such importance named after her is a great tribute. But what these parents, and you know, you have so many of them, where they've lost a loved one to crime, but to this new form of crime, criminal, illegal aliens. It's massive. The numbers are massive, and you add that to the crime we already had. This shows the potential for additional enforcement bills that will help us crack down on criminal aliens and totally restore the rule of law in our country. I'm also eager to get to work with Congress on the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. We got to get that done. And we don't want to get hung up on the budget process. We just want, whether it's 1 bill, 2 bills, I don't care. Let these guys, they're going to work it out. They're going to work it out one way or the other. But the bottom line, the end result is going to be the same. We want to have all of those benefits. And we want to keep people's taxes low and actually make them lower. And that's not just rich people. That's everybody. It's, frankly, proportionately the lower scale, much more so than a higher scale. Not only must we permanently extend the Trump tax cuts, you know, if we don't, you're going to have about a 60% tax increase. But I also intend to keep my promises, starting with no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime. We're working very hard to get them done, and we are. I went to Nevada just this last couple of days. I started off in North Carolina because I didn't want to forget the people of North Carolina were treated so badly by FEMA. And they came to me, they said, sir, you're going to California tomorrow. I said, well, what about North Carolina? Well, we'll do that another time. And I said, no, we won't. I'm stopping in North Carolina first. And we stopped there. We met great people. Franklin Graham has done a fantastic job. He's done a great job, but others also. And I met people that were devastated. The Democrat Party with FEMA, their FEMA did absolutely nothing. And we have it worked out. Your congressmen are helping very much there. Your 3 Congress people are working very hard on that whole thing, along with Michael Whatley. And Laura wants to be involved too. Laura Trump, she's doing great jobs. She's done a great. Michael and Laura have been unbelievable as the head of the RNC. They've been unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know why I picked Michael? I said, who ran North Carolina? Tell me, because in the 2016 election, we did so well, and then in 2020, we did great in North Carolina. But others, we watched, ping, ping. What the hell's going on? But with North Carolina, when he had 600 lawyers, 601 lawyers working for him, and they didn't play games in North Carolina, I said, that's the guy I want to run it. And Michael Whatley has done an unbelievable job, and he worked with Laura so well. She comes from that state, from North Carolina. They've done such an incredible job. So thank you very much. I want to just thank you in front of leadership. Incredible. And I really don't want to give him another job, to be honest. That's the most important job. He said, sir, I'll go anywhere. I said, I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay where you are. we'll give you plenty of money to get the job done, right? But we don't want to lose it. I mean, he could do anything, actually, but he's a very talented person. There's nothing more important because we have to win in 2 years or we have to win in 4 years. There's nobody better to head it up. So thank you very much, Michael, and really stand up. We're just an incredible job. Really amazing. I wanted to save that for leadership because I say it all the time. People don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but leadership knows what I'm talking about. And it's really incredible. The two of you as a team are unbelievable. Our administration will also be working to implement the Make It in America plan that I outlined very successfully in my campaign. You know, I think my campaign, I really focused on the border more than anything else. A lot of people said the biggest thing was inflation and the economy, and then maybe the border was third. I always felt the border was first because I felt that people could really understand that you can't have people pouring in from the prisons all over the world and from mental institutions all over the world and dumped into our country. So I talked about that much more so than I did inflation. I mean, inflation was terrible. It was the worst. I think it was the worst in the history of our country. But you can only talk about it so long. You know, the price of apples doubled, the price of bacon is quadrupled, everything is a disaster. And you say it, and then what do you do? With this, I could give examples of what they're doing to destroy our country, and I felt it was the strongest thing. You know, it's funny, in 2016, I won on the border. In 2020, we did so well, I couldn't talk about the border. My people would say, sir, don't bring up the border. Nobody wants to hear it. I said, no, I did a great job. It was a horrible border in 2016, but that border was beautiful compared to what we have now. So I didn't talk about it, and we did great. I mean, look, I got millions of more votes in 2020 than I got in 2016. Nobody ever got the most votes of any Republican in history in 2020. But this time I said, let's make it too big to rig. We're going to make it too big to rig, and that's what happened, and they couldn't. They tried, these cheating guys, these cheating people, but they tried, but they gave up. I brought taxes down from 40% to 21%, which everybody said was impossible. And I did it with these people up here and a lot of the people there. A great congressman. I want to name every one of them, but I'd be naming them all night. I'm looking at them. Look at all these people. They're great. They're so great, Russell and you and every single Virginia. Look at Virginia. She's a killer. Nobody would know she's a killer. But I got all these congressmen. I want to name every one of them, but I got like 100 and something things. People would say, let's get the hell out of here. This is getting very boring, right? But I will tell you, as a group and individually, they're incredible people. Every one of them I like, although every once in a while, if somebody votes against me, I don't like them for a little while. But we like every one of them. And this guy has the ability to get along with everybody, which he has to when you have a majority of really 5. You know, they say 1, but it will be. But right now it's 1. I want to make him sound a little bit. But he has an ability to get along with people, and he's very smart, very tough. But everyone likes him because he's a high-quality person, very religious person, and he's a high-quality person. You know, we have other guys here, and I know that everybody likes them, but they're like, one of them in particular, I love this guy so much. I won't name him because I don't want to embarrass him, but I don't know if he'd be happy or not happy, but he's very, very strong, very, very popular, but he has 36 people that won't vote for him. Just 36, that's not a lot. That's a small percentage. Tom is incredible, but Tom has a couple of people that probably have been beaten badly and you beat up some people badly, and it's a little tougher. But he's done an unbelievable job. I've become friendly with him. I didn't really know him. And over the last year or so, I've become friendly. He's incredible. He's an incredible leader. You really are. But you have a couple of people that maybe more than one. Let me put it that way. Sure, they all love him. Your wife loves you. That I can tell you. He's got a great. Where are you? Where are you? Stand up, please. Just stand up. Come on. What a great wife and family. It's true. Thank you. She is a great, look at her. She's very popular, isn't she, huh? She's great, more than you. You're very popular. And now I'm bringing them down. I'm bringing the taxes down from 21 to 15%, but only if they make their product in America. So if they make their product in America, we're bringing it down. So if you think about it, we took it down from 40 to 15%. But again, you keep 21, but You go down to 15 if you make your product here. We are going to have so many business moving back into our country. And remember, again, the word tariff. We're going to protect our people and our businesses, and we're going to protect our country with tariffs. And you got a little indication of that yesterday with what happened with a very strong country. Colombia is traditionally a very, very strong-willed country. If they don't make their product in America, then very simply they should have to pay a tariff, which will bring in trillions of dollars into our treasury from countries that never paid us 10 cents. We're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let them destroy our country. In the words of President McKinley, who is the tariff king, the protective system invokes the highest law of nature, that a self-preservation, and that is self-preservation. There is every reason founded in justice why the American producer should in every way be favored against a foreign producer whose products compete with his. This is our natural market. We have made it. We have made it an enormous cost, capital, and exertion. And think of this. And we did that through exertion and brain and muscle and guts and stamina. We preserved it against foreign wars and domestic conflicts at great sacrifice of men and women. The foreign producer has contributed nothing to the growth or development of this country. So if you want to share with the citizens of the United States our home market, then you must pay for the privilege of doing it. In other words, you have to pay for the privilege of coming into our country, taking our jobs, taking our product, destroying our countries. We mentioned North Carolina, the furniture business, what they've done to these great artisans. I used to go down to North Carolina all the time to buy furniture for hotels that I was building. And they had the most incredible artisans. That whole thing was wiped out by China mostly, but others. And just wiped out, but it's going to come back. It's going to come roaring back. It's all going to come roaring back. We're going to put tariffs on outside countries and outside people that really mean us harm. They want to, well, they mean us harm, but they basically want to make their country good. Look at what others do. China's a tremendous tariff maker, and India and Brazil and so many countries. And so we're not going to let that happen any longer, because we're going to put America first. Always put America first. That's what's going to happen. We're going to establish a very fair system where money is going to come into our coffers, and America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee, was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary, because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right? Under the American First economic model, as tariffs on other countries go up, taxes on American workers and businesses will come down, and massive numbers of jobs and factories will come home. The job creation will be enormous. In particular, if you look at the automobile sector, I mean, we're just being wiped out. You just take a look at what's happened to that over the years. And the auto workers voted for me. I have an obligation to do what's right, and I'm going to do that. Do you know, in Mexico, they were going to build the largest auto plant anywhere in the world, and it was during the campaign, my most recent campaign, and a very great gentleman, all he does is he builds auto plants. He was building this factory, and I said, how's it going? I said, I want to go around and take a look at one of your factories that you're building, one of the big ones, one of the good ones. I said, okay, are you ready? When are you going to do it? This is 9 months ago. He said, you'll have to go to Mexico. I said, what about the United States? He said, we're putting up a couple, but they're small. He's the biggest guy at doing that. He said, in Mexico, they're building massive automobile factories. I said, you mean they're doing it? And who's the owner of the factories? He said, mostly China. One in particular is massive, and it's built fairly close to the border. So they were going to build cars and send them into the United States for no tax or very little tax and destroy Detroit, just destroy the rest of it, what's left of it, because they've already taken, Mexico's taken 32% of our business over years, over 30 years. And the other one is Canada. Canada's taken massive amounts of, they said they send us millions of cars. We don't need them for that. We want to have the cars made in Detroit or South Carolina or many other locations, whether it's union or not union. But I said to him, so when is this plant going to open? He said, well, we're going to start it in a couple of months, and it'll be open in about a year and a half. It's the largest plant in the world. I said, I'm not happy with that. And I said in my next speech that I am going to charge them if it takes 100% or 200%. No car is coming in from Mexico into the United States without a massive tariff. And I said it 3 or 4 times. And what happened is about 2 months later, I see that same gentleman who was in the audience, and I said, I want to see him backstage after I'm finished with the speech. And I met him backstage. I said, John, let me ask you, what happened with that plant? Where is it now? He said, sir, China's canceled it. Why? Because they think you're going to be elected, and they thought you were going to charge big tariffs on the cars coming in, and it doesn't work if you're going to charge. So they canceled the plant, and Detroit now will breathe, and we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to have these companies come in, and they can build that plant if they want, but they have to build it across the line. They have to build it in the United States. Amazing. Amazing. We did so many things, and we weren't even elected yet. That would have been a disaster. If that plant were built, it would have been a disaster. That would have wiped out. That was bigger than most of the factories put together, the auto plants put together. In particular, in the very near future, we're going to be placing tariffs on foreign production of computer chips, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals to return production of these essential goods to the United States of America. They left us and they went to Taiwan, which is about 98% of the chip business, by the way. And we want them to come back, and we don't want to give them billions of dollars like this ridiculous program that Biden has. Give everybody billions of dollars. They already have billions of dollars. They've got nothing but money, Joe. They didn't need money. They needed an incentive, and the incentive is going to be they're not going to want to pay a 25, 50, or even 100% tax. They're going to build their factory with their own money. We don't have to give them money. They're going to come in because it's good for them to come in. They're giving them money. They don't even know what they're going to do with it. I had people tell me, we have no idea. We didn't need money. They don't know if they're probably going to use the money to build in other places, other countries. It's a ridiculous plan, very expensive and ridiculous. The only way you'll get out of this is to build your plant. If you want to stop paying the taxes or the tariffs, you have to build your plant right here in America. That's what's going to happen at record levels. We're going to have more plants built in the next short period of time than anybody ever envisioned before, because the incentive is going to be there, because they have no tariff whatsoever. In fact, they have help from us if they build their plant in America. And we're going to look at pharmaceuticals, drugs. We're going to look at chips, semiconductors, and we're going to look at steel and some other industries. And you're going to see things happening. If I didn't put on the massive steel tariffs, you wouldn't have one steel plant right now in the United States. If I didn't put on the tariffs on washing machines, dryers, and the like, you wouldn't in Ohio. You would have lost all of those companies that made washing machines and dryers. Jim Jordan is the one that got me started. Was Jim here by any chance? Is Jim here? Where is Jim? Where's Jim? Oh, look at him. Wow. That's not a great seat for a man of such power. Do you know that Jim has he's a great wrestler. He was All-American wrestler 3 times, 128-1. That's not a bad record, and that's the way he fights, too. But he has a better record. Undefeated as a wrestler in high school. And I say, how can you do that? Because a freshman can't beat a senior. But he figured out how to beat seniors. So I stand up again, Jim. Let's give you a hand as a wrestler. As a wrestler, big hand. As a politician, very good. But Jim, is it true that we went up there, remember we had 25,000 people standing in the streets in this little beautiful town with Whirlpool, right? and they were going to close up their factories because South Korea was dumping washing machines and other things like that, and they were dumping. And we put a 50% tariff, and it's 75, even 100%, and now they're thriving, right? Without Trump, they would have been closed up. But Jim was the one that got me involved. Are you guys all happy with Jim? Do you like him? Because I like him. I like him, right? We like Jim. What's not to like? He gets on television, he's like a wrestler. He's got this boom, 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 boom. Very impressive, Jim. Anyway, it's good to see you. I like that guy a lot. I like a lot of the people in the audience a lot. I like the people in this room. We have the same basic philosophy. We have the same thoughts. What's not to like? But I'll also be placing tariffs on steel, aluminum, and copper, and things that we need for our military. We have to bring production back to our country. You know, there was a time when we made one ship a day, and now we can't build a ship. We don't know what the hell we're doing. It's all gone to other locations and other lands. And to further return production to the United States, we're going to environmentally free up our rare earth minerals. We have some unbelievable sites. We have some of the best rare earth anywhere in the world, but we're not allowed to use it because the environmentalists got there first. They said, you cannot touch that land. I look at the land, looks like every other piece of land. What is it? Well, this is very protected. They have no idea what they're doing to our country. They use the environment to stop progress, so we're not going to let that happen. We have Lee Zeldin. I don't know if Lee's here today, but Lee Zeldin is going to be fantastic. He's going to head up the whole environmental. And I said, Lee, if we have we put in for a power plant, and if we don't get the approval, like that you can start within 12 days, one day would be even better, but 12 days, 14 days, see what you can do. And Lee's great. Lee knows what's good and he knows what's bad, and he'll be very fair, but we have to get it moving because some of these jobs, like the ones in Louisiana, they were 14, 15 years, they couldn't get their approvals. We can't let that happen. When people come here with massive amounts of money, they want to start, they want to go, and we know what's good and we know what's bad too. And Lee Zeldin's going to do a great job environmentally. As we fix our tax system, we could also cut colossal amounts of government waste, fraud, and abuse, of which there's a lot. But tonight, I restate my pledge from the campaign. I will not sign any bill that cuts even a single penny from Medicare or Social Security for our great seniors. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We'll not touch those benefits in any way, shape, or form. I want to use that because during the campaign, they had these fake ads that Trump is going to cut Social Security. No, they're the ones that are going to cut it because the country's going to go bankrupt under them. And that's why it's going to cut, because they're not going to have a choice. Not that they're saying we're going to cut it, but our country was heading for absolute bankruptcy. Using reconciliation, I also look forward to working with you to make our energy policies permanent and making our historic deregulation efforts a fixture of U.S. law so that no future president, like they did with Anwar, I got Anwar approved. Nobody could do it, including Ronald Reagan in Alaska. It's the largest site, potentially the largest site in the world, larger than Saudi Arabia. And I got it done. Ronald Reagan couldn't get it. Nobody could get it done. They tried, but they couldn't get it done. I got it done. And the first thing they did was end Anwar in Alaska. The biggest, most powerful site, maybe anywhere in the world, that we got it done. And we're going to get it done again very quickly. Now, I think I do it with an executive order because they didn't go through Congress. I got it approved through Congress. So I think we get it done fast. But it's going to be, that can supply all of Asia with its location. All of Asia can be supplied by Anwar. So there's so many things, but we don't want to have any future president ever sabotage our economy with out-of-control regulations as the last two Democrat presidents have done. They went crazy. Last week, I signed an order revoking Joe Biden's destructive artificial intelligence regulations so that AI companies can once again focus on being the best, not just being the most woke. And today and over the last couple of days, I've been reading about China and some of the companies in China, one in particular, coming up with a faster method of AI and much less expensive method. And that's good because you don't have to spend as much money. I view that as a positive, as an asset. So I really think if it's fact and if it's true, and nobody really knows if it is, but I view that as a positive because you'll be doing that too. So you won't be spending as much and you'll get the same result, hopefully. The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser focused on competing to win because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even Chinese leadership told me that. They said, you have the most brilliant scientists in the world, and Seattle and various places. But Silicon Valley, they said, there's nobody like those people. This is very unusual when you hear a deep seek, when you hear somebody come up with something. We always have the ideas. We're always first. So I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. So instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with hopefully the same solution. Under the Trump administration, we're going to unleash our tech companies and we're going to dominate the future like never before. And finally, we need to work together on a defense bill that once again fully rebuilds our military for our great warriors. We have to have a strong, strong defense. And in a little while, I'll be signing 4 new executive orders. First is that I'm directing our new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who's going to be great, by the way. Thank you for the support. Thank you very much for the support. You really did support him greatly. I think he's going to be fantastic. I know him very well. I think he's going to be fantastic. He's what we need to immediately begin the construction of a state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will be able to protect Americans. You know, we protect other countries, but we don't protect ourselves. And when Ronald Reagan wanted to do it many years ago, luckily we didn't. We didn't have the technology then. It was a concept, but we didn't. And now we have phenomenal technology. You see that with Israel, where out of 319 rockets, they knocked down just about every one of them. So I think the United States is entitled to that, and everything will be made right here in the USA, 100%. And next, to ensure that we have the most lethal fighting force in the world, we will get transgender ideology the hell out of our military. It's going to be gone. In addition, we will stop our service members from being indoctrinated with radical left ideologies such as critical race theory. We're going to stop it. It's already been stopped. It's already been halted, totally halted. And finally, we will offer full reinstatement to any service member who was expelled from the armed forces due to the COVID vaccine mandate. And we will restore them to their former rank with full pay. And I think we're going to have a lot of people that join. And one thing I'll say, if you looked at our recruitment over the last week or so, 2 weeks, it's through the roof. You know, we were having a lot of people weren't signing. We were having a hard time recruiting people because they were looking at these people that they were supposed to be their leaders, and they weren't happy. They didn't like people that fall going upstairs. If you're going to fall, at least go downstairs from the plane. That triple fall. I used that thing in more ads. I didn't have an ad where I didn't put that in. Just a little quick 1, 2, 3. Reminded me of Joe Frazier when he went down, right? George Foreman, Joe Frazier. 3 falls in a matter of seconds. I said, can you speed it up a little bit? People are getting tired of it. But no, we have now the best recruitment we've seen in a long time. There's a tremendous number of people wanting to sign up. January 20th, 2025 was a turning point in American history. Starting last week, we're ending years of incompetence, radicalism, and betrayal. And we're ushering in the most exhilarating era of reform and renewal in the 250-year history of our country. And just in conclusion, I just want to say that this has been a very exciting and will be a very exciting new chapter. There's nothing we cannot achieve as long as the Republican Party remains united. I hope you can remain united. And it's one thing I give the Democrats a lot of credit for because, you know, they have lousy policy. I think, frankly, half of them are totally crazy. But they do stick together. They stick together on stuff that nobody can. I mean, how can you want prisons emptied out into our country? They stick together. They stick together on everything. Impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2. They stick together. Although I must tell you, you gave me great support during those 2 problems. Those 2 fake witch hunts, which have now turned out to be totally fake and disgusting. But you gave me tremendous support. But the Republican Party has to stick together. We just can't have people going, 1, 2, 3 votes. And we don't have that luxury. It would be different if we had a 20-point, 30-person majority, but we don't. We have to help leadership. And, you can be assured that you have certain philosophies, that if you're going to have most of the people, almost all of them, voting for something, you're going to be okay. It's not going to be bad. You have to stick together. It's the one thing that I would say we don't get very high marks. Everything is so hard. We always have 2 or 3 or 5 or something, people that just don't want to do it. And you just got to do it. You just got to do it. Make life easy. Just got to do it. So right now we have a very special period because we have the House, we have the Senate, and we have the White House. And we're a team, and we're a really good team. And I appreciate so many times, and like even with Mike, I called 3 or 4 people, and they said, okay, sir, I'll do it. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote positively. And they're very happy they did now. But when I called, we've gotten such a great response. We just had that happen with Pete Hegseth, and we have it happening with others. But we really appreciate it with the House. The House has been, it's a very difficult situation when you have that small a majority. But in a certain way, it brings you together. It actually can unify more than anybody would ever know. And a victory is sweeter, as they say, because of it. And I think we're going to have a lot of victories, but we have to stick together. We have to work together. We have to fight together. And we're going to win together. We're going to win like never before. We have a chance to win like never before. As long as we stay united, the 119th Congress will be remembered as the most successful and accomplished Republican majority in American history. I believe that. I think we have a chance of doing it. Right? And in January 2027, we will have a larger Republican House, a larger Republican Senate, and our country will be richer, safer, stronger, prouder, greater, freer, and ever before. I really think that we're going to have some big victories coming up, and I'm going to be helping every single one of you. I'm raising a lot of money, and I want to use it for the House, and I want to use it for the Senate. I've raised a lot of money, and, I told my people, we raised $1.7 billion. They raised $2.6 billion. They have the unions with, checkoffs, which is always tough, $10 a month times millions and millions of people. And then we won, and we won by a lot. And they wanted to go out, and they still haven't raised it. They're trying to raise $28 million. They cannot raise 10 cents. It's good to win, I will tell you. It's really good to win, but they can't raise money. But I told my people the morning after. Now, normally, because we have so many donors here and so many people that I love and respect, a lot of great friends of mine, but I told my people, Meredith and Susie, and by the way, how good is Susie, the Ice Maiden? Where is the Ice Maiden? She is so great. She is so good. Stand up, Susie. The Ice Maiden, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, look at that. Most powerful woman in the world, they say. Most powerful woman in the world. She's made of ice. She's great. No, when I came to Florida, Florida was a Democrat state, had a Democrat governor. They had one Democrat senator. It was largely a Democrat state. And through various reasons, I ended up with Susie running the campaign, and she was unbelievable. We won it in a landslide. And then the second time, we won it in an even bigger landslide. And when it came time to choosing somebody to run the campaign, the whole campaign, I said, what about Susie from Florida? She'd never lost. I won every primary. I won every, I didn't lose anything. And it was a Democrat state, and it was a landslide both times. And all of the Republican stuff was almost like it didn't even exist. It was amazing. And I said, what about Susie? Well, sir, a woman has never been in this position before. I said, really? Oh, by the way, we have Kellyanne Conway. She didn't do too badly either, right? She did a great job, 2016. And when it came time to chief of staff, do you know that there has never been a woman chief of staff? But there is now. There is now, right? I didn't know that. I'm so surprised. I'm very surprised. But it came time to running the campaign, and I said, well, I've never had a loss with Susie. She comes from great stock, Pat Summerall is her father. Pat Summerall was a football player, great football player, but a really great announcer, really the voice of the NFL for 27 years or something. He was great, and a leader. He worked with John Madden, and he was able to get John Madden to do things that nobody else could do. They'd say, Pat, John is really difficult. Now, John was a difficult guy, but he got big ratings, and he was good. And Pat would go up, come on, John, let's get this done. Come on. I know you don't like the heads of the company. Yes, they're paying you a lot of money. Come on, John, let's get it done. And he'd go and do it. And this went on for, what, 27 years, right? But he was a leader, her father. And, you know, this is somebody that has the gene. I'll tell you, she's great. And she's done a fantastic job. So she was so good with the campaign. I said, let's let her do the campaign. And it was flawless. And again, I said before, we had her win a lot of votes because it's crooked as hell. And I hope you can go to voter ID and same-day voting and paper ballots and all of those things, because ultimately we'll never lose a race if you do that. I'm telling you, you'll never lose a race. And I hope you can get that. And that's said to the governors mostly, but this, you know, you people have a lot of power over it. But Susie ran the race, and we did phenomenally, and then we just made her the chief of staff, and she's doing great. They say it was the greatest week, opening week, in presidential history, and I think, you know, it couldn't be a hell of a lot better. Even CNN is saying, this guy is amazing. I couldn't believe it. I said, did CNN really say that? Because nobody watches, so nobody was able to confirm it. But it was pretty amazing. Oh, the camera just went off. It's always tough. Usually you get them by surprise. But I just want to thank everybody. We're going to make this tremendously successful. We're going to have, I believe, we're going to have one of the greatest 4 years in the history of our country. We're going to turn it around quickly, and then we're going to go on and we're going to progress like nobody ever thought possible. And I want to thank these great 4 people, because they really are leaders and they're phenomenal people. And I want to thank all of my friends in the audience, many of whom are congressmen and congresswomen and people that have just tremendous talent. Every single one of you, I know every one of you, and you have tremendous talent. And if we stick and if we fight together, there's nobody can stop us. We're going to have, because they have bad policy. Their policy is so bad. Nobody could win with this policy. Nobody. And we have the best policy. And again, as they say, and we say, and I've been saying for a long time, we're the party of common sense, and we're the party that's going to have the best 4 years ever. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Have a lot of people bidding on it. You don't want China involved, but we'll see what happens. So that is, as they are divest clause within that legislation to try to keep TikTok very much active. It was just really a pause on that ban. Also, a big point, a big headline that you'll likely see a lot about, a quote that he says, "I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself because I think I'm not going to run again, allowed to run again. I'm not sure. Am I allowed to run again, Mike?" Speaking to Speaker Mike Johnson. "I better not get you involved in that argument." A little tongue-in-cheek there, but he later on went to say that he might use some of those funds for different Senate and House races in the coming years. And also, like I mentioned, as that was happening, we're also hearing that his cabinet is slowly starting to get filled out by confirmed members. The Senate has confirmed Scott Bessent as Trump's secretary of the Treasury, bipartisan 68-29 vote. So some big news in terms of that, as yet another cabinet pick has moved through those Senate confirmation hearings as they confirmed the billionaire investor Scott Bessent on the Monday to serve as President Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary, giving him a delicate balancing act of cutting taxes and also curbing deficits while putting forward a plan on tariffs that doesn't jeopardize growth. The South Carolina resident is the first openly gay individual in the role, a historic first as Trump seeks novel ways to implement policy agenda driven by both billionaire business leaders with concerns over regulation and a populist base that wants government leaders to fight for them. So some big news in terms of that. We're also monitoring coming up in the next few days, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the HHS Secretary nominee up for that confirmation hearing. Also, Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel expected to be on Capitol Hill later on this week for what's expected to be some contentious hearings there as well. So we'll see that in full, and you can see them here on the floor there in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, continuing to go through different things. Senator Thune speaking right now. Let's sign away for a quick 2-minute break. We haven't had a break in a little bit. Let's catch our breath, get you back out to top stories. All right, welcome back in here to Live and Now from Fox. Hi, I'm Andy Mack, and we're going to take you back out to the Capitol Hill to hear some comments from different lawmakers, including the Senate Majority Leader, Senator John Thune out of South Dakota. But they're just going through some protocols right now in terms of place for these confirmation hearings and whatnot. So we're not going to take you out there, but we want to talk right now about some of those executive orders, some of the most pressing points of this second term for President Trump involving immigration. I want to put up this post from Bill Maluzhin as we were following it from earlier, per multiple law enforcement sources telling the Fox News reporter that within the last hour, Border Patrol agents here front in Texas were fired upon from Mexico by suspected cartel gunmen as a group of illegal aliens were being brought across the river. I'm told Border Patrol did return fire. He goes on to say in another post about this incident that took place, but this has been a continuing conversation over the last week or so since the initial swearing in of President Trump. Let's take you right now out to Fox's Rebecca Castor that gets us up to speed on what we're learning about some of these deportations, about these raids by ICE and whatnot here on Live Now.
In Chicago, ICE agents are out in full force under orders from President Trump's border czar to get dangerous illegal immigrants off the streets.
I know we arrested 2 illegal aliens that had murder convictions that were walking the street. We arrested at least 7 sexual predators, mostly child predators.
On Sunday alone, ICE says it arrested 956 people across the country. At least 50 of those arrests were in Denver, where federal DEA agents raided a nightclub, rounding up drug traffickers and TDA gang members and handing them off to ICE.
I feel like the people in Denver metro area can wake up today and feel like they have a safer city to live in.
DHS sources tell Fox News New York City is ICE's next target, and the raids there will be massive. Immigration advocacy groups are getting ready.
This is a moment where we all have to come together as New Yorkers to fight for our families, to fight for our communities, and ensure that we continue to allow our people to thrive here in the state of New York.
Mexico! Mexico! In Dallas, hundreds turned out this weekend to protest the deportation policy, but border czar Tom Homan believes much of the public outrage is misplaced.
I don't think we arrested any families. We've arrested public safety threats and national security threats, bottom line.
Meanwhile, the Washington Post is reporting that Trump's administration wants to increase the number of daily arrests from a few hundred to at least 12 to 1,500. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
All right, thank you so much for that, Rebecca. And I also want to put up a post from the White House saying 613 criminal illegal aliens arrested by ICE were recorded yesterday, January the 26th. So, of course, 613, kind of right in the middle of that number, that ballpark that Rebecca was talking about. Another point that President Trump is looking towards in this second term is around the housing crisis and home sales. Let's take you right now out to this latest story from Jerry Willis here on Live Now from Fox.
Some good news in what has been a moribund housing market. Out today, new home sales were up 3.6% in December, beating expectations. Meanwhile, November home sales were revised higher to 674,000. That's 10,000 higher than originally reported. Prices were higher too, up 2.1% from a year ago. All this as home buyers face the most difficult market in decades. Median existing home prices are at a record high of $407,500, according to new numbers Friday. Now, while mortgage rates are at 6.96%, together those two factors dealing a double whammy to the market, taking sales to their lowest level since 1995. Within his first few days in office, Trump issued an executive order directing heads of federal government departments and agencies to deliver emergency price relief, including lowering the cost of housing. Listen.
To have the President of the United States directing his agencies and departments to look for ways to increase housing production and lower housing costs, it sends a clear message to the state and local governments as well that housing is a priority for this administration.
Trump says interest rates need to come down to support a more robust housing market and believes the Fed should help. In the meantime, he says his moves to cut energy costs by opening up more oil production could ultimately cut inflation and allow the Fed to begin cutting rates again. Another source of high and rising costs in the housing market, regulations. According to Realtor.com, $90,000 of the cost of new construction is regulations. One such reg from the Biden administration, which takes effect later this year, requires home builders to meet published energy codes. But 44 states are not on that code, and meeting it will cost money, as much as $15,000 to $30,000 per house, says Tobin. One unknown, how much Trump's targeting of illegal immigrants will impact the housing construction market, which relies on them for a quarter of their workers. In New York, Jerry Willis, Fox Business.
All right, thank you so much for that report. A lot to get to in terms of these executive orders and the agenda for President Trump in this second term in the White House. A live look there right now as it's just approaching 7 o'clock on the East Coast. Of course, Trump and also lots of GOP lawmakers at that annual retreat in South Florida in Miami. We're going to slide away for another quick 2-minute break. More top headlines after. All right, welcome back in here to Live and Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. Let's turn our attention right now to the West Coast as we continue our coverage in the relief, the recovery of those Palisades, the Pacific Palisades fire in Southern California. And of course, it is a sunny day right now, approaching 4 o'clock there on the West Coast, but it was rain over the weekend that was causing concern for mudslides in those burn scars in those regions in Los Angeles. I want to put up this post here talking about some of the efforts there as the Topanga Canyon Boulevard closed due to mud and debris. These were taken on Sunday, January 26th. Of course, you can check out the current closures on the state highways there, but that was a concern after so many of those devastating fires in that region. President Trump was there within the last several days to get a brief on what was going on in the recovery efforts, but that rain certainly caused some problems. Let's take you right now out to Fox's William Longinus that has this report from Southern California.
Well, you know, it's almost unprecedented to have a fire this size, this close to the shoreline. Now, the fear was we were going to get 1 inch an hour, and it was going to hit debris flows or burn scars like we have here and carry all that soil down literally all the way to the ocean. That didn't happen. We did see some rain, but not that much. Now, we did see some mudslides, Topanga, Malibu Canyon, Sycamore Canyon, also Mulholland Drive, multiple road closures along PCH. Now, as for the impact, think about your house and what's in the garage. You got pesticides, gasoline, cleaning products, plastics in the carpet in the kitchen, right? That residue is in the ash, and you're going to have runoff. That's going to threaten marine life.
All of this is going to be flushed out at sea.
Which is why Scripps and the county have been sampling Santa Monica Bay.
This fire did not only burn vegetation, it also burned structures. And in those structures, there are things like metal piping, there's plastic products, there's cleaning products, there's potentially lead and asbestos, all kinds of things in these buildings that also burned.
The last 2 years we've had record rain, but the fact fact is, most of Southern California right now is in a severe or extreme drought. Now, this rain is going to help, but we're still about 95% short of where we should be, which is about 15 inches of rain a year in Los Angeles or the city of LA. We need about another 7 inches or more by May 1st to come near where we need to be. The good news is snowpack in the Sierras is over 100% of where it needs to be. So a little rain here and there, good idea. A lot of rain, bad, didn't happen. That's the good news. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much for that, William. And it's so very interesting as that region needs rain so bad in a big way. But some of these most recent storms, as you heard, fearful for what the mudslides, the debris, and all the impacts on the environment after these unprecedented fires in that region. All right, let's go coast to coast right here on Live Now from Fox, from West Coast to East Coast, talking about another natural disaster as Vice President J.D. Vance was in the area impacted by Hurricane Helene. You can see this post from Governor Glenn Youngkin out of Virginia saying, "Thank you, VP J.D. Vance, for honoring your word and returning to the region for your first official visit. Your commitment to Southwest Virginia and leadership in advancing Hurricane Helene recovery efforts to rebuild and strengthen our community are deeply appreciated." They did hold that roundtable there in that area. Let's take you out to some comments of Vance alongside Youngkin talking about recovery efforts in this region.
Get any federal insurance, and he said that she's getting run through all this rigmarole, and he's just looking for an answer. What could you possibly provide for him?
Look, as soon as possible, right? We need to get back to Washington. We need to figure out what the holdup is and actually power through that holdup for people. Every single day after today is too long. We recognize these things don't always happen as quickly as they can, but the big difference now compared to a week ago is that people actually have an administration that's going to help them power through that bureaucracy. We're going to fight for them every single day. We're going to try to get that money as soon as physically possible because that's what's necessary to help people rebuild.
And I can tell you that we heard from business leaders today that even in the last week, they've seen more movement than they had seen before. And so this is the opportunity for us to, yes, cut through red tape, cut through bureaucracy. At the state level, I have a $127 million budget amendment in to supplement what has already been at least appropriated by the federal government. Now it needs to come out. And this is a sprint because as the vice president said, folks can't wait. They've been waiting for 4 months since this storm, and they don't need to wait another day.
Absolutely. Anybody over here?
Yes. In 7 days of being in office, you have been to 2/3 of all of this devastation. And I want to ask you about East Tennessee being part of the funding to help people. I know a lot of people are appreciative, and we want to know if East Tennessee is going to be a part of that and how this is going to energize, how you're going to energize the communities who have been great in helping each other.
Yes, ma'am. So I actually met with a congresswoman from East Tennessee this morning, actually, when we landed. Obviously, we landed actually in Tennessee and then drove here to Virginia. Look, we recognize that while most of the attention from Helene is focused on North Carolina in particular, and to be clear, there's a lot of devastation in North Carolina. There's also a lot of devastation here in Virginia and also in East Tennessee. So our promise and our focus is going to be on leaving no American behind. That includes those in Tennessee and certainly here in Damascus.
Mr. President, can you preview at all what some of the specific changes you'd like to see with regard to FEMA's response? And does that include possibly eliminating the agency as the president has suggested?
Well, so first of all, it's not just FEMA, right? There's Housing and Urban Development. There's the Department of Agriculture. There's a lot of different agencies that are coordinating a response to this particular problem. And a couple of things that particularly seem to matter the most to the people of Damascus is, one, this incredible bike trail and hiking trail that runs along these mountains is a major source of economic opportunity and economic development, right? People come in, they stay in Airbnbs, they stay in bed and breakfast, they go to the coffee shops, they go to the restaurants. But unfortunately, the part of that trail that is managed and monitored by the federal government has been way too slow to actually start that rebuilding process. That's something that we want to focus on immediately. I think a second big issue is, and the governor knows these numbers better than I do, but I believe the maximum you can get from FEMA for home rebuilding is about $42,000, right? The average amount of damage, as I heard today, is about $130,000, right? So that's a massive, $80,000, $90,000 shortfall that we need to make sure that other parts of the federal government are fixing. Now, to be clear, the continuing resolution that was passed just a few weeks ago actually does have the resources to fill that gap, but only if the bureaucrats get out of the way and actually make sure that people get the money that they're entitled to, that the American people have decided that we want to contribute and we want to fund this incredible redevelopment, but it's got to happen quicker than it's been happening with the bureaucracy in Washington.
Time for one more question, guys. One more.
I have a quick question about the situation in Western North Carolina as well. As some people were complaining about some of the red tape they had to get through to get trailers or the hotel vouchers. They were about to end in January when there was a snowstorm. What do you guys make of some of that disorganization, and what are some specific ways you could streamline that process and just make the recovery process more efficient?
Well, unfortunately, it's just a perfect example of the bureaucratic inadequacy of the last administration and why we need to do better in this country. The thing that I heard most when I was in Western North Carolina before the inauguration, but it was after the election, is that there are people who wanted to put trailers or other temporary housing in particular areas of Western North Carolina, but they couldn't because FEMA had designated these particular areas to be ineligible for the type of assistance that would allow people to put that temporary housing in the first place. That's another example of the sort of thing that's broken about the federal response. And it's actually, when you have such great governors like Glenn Youngkin, and you talk to people, and it's like the local government's working, the state government is working as hard as it can, the local communities and the nonprofits and the churches are working at breakneck speed, and yet you have the federal government out there, the biggest institution with the most money that's not doing its job. It just drives home how much better we can do. And I think one of the takeaways of just my time the last week being the people's vice president is they should have higher expectations for their federal government. I talk to so many people who will say, in effect, well, it's the federal government, oh, the bureaucracy, oh, the red tape. No. The bureaucracy and the red tape is not an excuse for the government to not do its job. We're not going to be perfect. We never will be. Government is as fallible as the people who run it, but we can do a heck of a lot better than we have over the last few years, and that is something that President Trump and I are committed to doing. And let me just leave you with one final thought. I know that a lot of the people watching on the local news, look, this is a part of our country, Appalachian, Virginia, that has been ignored and left behind for decades, for generations in this country. Again, we're never going to be perfect, but I promise you that this administration will not forget you. We love you, we're rooting for you, and we want to be part of this incredible recovery here in Southwest Virginia. God bless you guys. Thanks for being here.
All right, just listening in there, the handshake from J.D. Vance and Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. You heard him say that he touched down in Tennessee before driving over there to Virginia, but Hurricane Helene impacting so many of those states right there in that corridor. North Carolina, certainly a significant impact as they continue their recovery efforts just months later. All right, I want to put up the post here one more time as we go to break, talking about Governor Glenn Youngkin is saying to his commitment, Vance's commitment, that their community are deeply appreciated as their recovery efforts to rebuild and strengthen. All right, I'm Andy Mack. We're back. right, welcome back in here to Live and Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. The artificial intelligence arms race is very much in full swing, and there's a new name that you might need to get familiar with, that being DeepSeek. And President Trump mentioned that during that annual retreat in Florida. I want to put up a post right now from Stephanie Lai saying Trump to the House GOP, saying DeepSeek should be a, quote, wake-up call to the industry, and says it's, quote, a positive development because the U.S. has the best scientists. He said he will tariff foreign production of chips, semiconductors, aluminum, steel, copper, and pharmaceuticals. For more on this new company that has entered the market that is certainly making waves already, let's take you out to Connor Hansen with this report.
U.S. tech dominance is being threatened. China's artificial intelligence company DeepSeek claims it has 2 AI models that perform better than or close to leading Western models and don't need the most expensive new chips. DeepSeek is the brainchild of a small group of researchers working for a Chinese hedge fund manager. They've been able to produce technology on par with OpenAI and Google, even though those companies are sinking billions of dollars and years into development. DeepSeek says training one of its latest models cost more than $5.5 million, compared to the $100 million Anthropic cited last year. And tech stocks took a dive.
Investors in their portfolios woke up this morning walking into a buzzsaw. And the question of the day is to panic or not to panic.
DeepSeek's AI model has raised serious questions about American companies' dominance in the space. The move impacted shares of chip-making giant NVIDIA and other big tech firms.
Could be a huge boon for AI in the aggregate. It potentially will benefit many software, many application layer companies, but I think it's too early to know what's going to happen.
DeepSeek sailed past rival ChatGPT as the top-rated free app on Apple's App Store in the U.S. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
All right, we want to continue this conversation as there's a new player in this AI game, and it's already turning heads in the tech world. DeepSeek, a Chinese company, unveiled an app to compete with the U.S. giants, but potentially at a fraction of the cost. And of course, this a post there from the Wall Street Journal Tech saying a Chinese artificial intelligence company has Silicon Valley marveling there as well. So they are continuing to look into this, but the stock market a little bit rattled by what we saw today as it dipped a little bit early on. Even the S&P dipped a little bit as well. Let's bring the conversation right now for more on this. Wall Street Journal tech and media reporter Dan Gallagher. Dan, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What can you tell us about DeepSeek, and does it live up to the hype?
Well, I haven't played with the model yet myself. What's been reported about it is that they figured out a way to make a competitive AI model and train it at a cost that's like far below what companies like OpenAI and Anthropic are having to spend on that. This is, of course, based on technical papers and claims by the company that, and there's a lot of questions about them. What kind of chips do they have access to? Did that cost really encompass everything about it? But that implication that you can now have AI, advanced AI for like a fraction of the price that people are spending, that's what really kind of weighed on the market today, particularly stocks like NVIDIA and Broadcom and even some of the bigger techs to a less extent.
Yeah, no, that is so very true. And everyone's trying to get a grasp of really what DeepSeek is. Is it fair to be skeptical at this point because there was that market that it was just $5.6 million for this learning language? Is it fair to be skeptical at this point?
I think you need to be careful about taking anything at face value, obviously, because, I've covered tech a long time. A lot of times companies will put out claims that are pretty, and this is like true of Chinese companies, American companies, companies all over the world will often put out claims that are pretty ideal and not always like match against real world implications. You have the added pressure here that the U.S. and China are engaged in this really major trade war over AI chips. And so for China to be able to announce a Chinese company to announce a major breakthrough, even in the face of sanctions that have limited their access to chips, that really helps their story. And again, like we have to kind of maybe take that with a grain of salt for now, see how it actually plays out. It's worth paying attention to, but you want to be careful what exactly we accept as truth at the moment.
Yeah, and of course, trying to compete with some of these big U.S. tech, they're really already entrenched, and NVIDIA among them, OpenAI. Can you talk about how those competitors are reacting? We saw the market dip down a little bit. What are they doing, knowing that this new competitor is out there in this AI arms race?
Well, I think you saw the sell-off hit different stocks differently. It was obviously the hardest on companies like NVIDIA and Broadcom and Marvell. These are the chip companies that make the very specialized chips needed to power artificial intelligence. And so the implication that companies could have powerful AI and spend a lot less money is bad for them. Again, we'll have to see if that actually turns out to be the case. NVIDIA, for its part, said that it actually believes the breakthrough from DeepSeek actually will increase the cost of what's called AI inferencing, increase the demand for it, in other words, and that's good for NVIDIA. So I think it's going to take time to see how this plays out for these companies. I think for the companies like Microsoft and Google that also saw their stocks hit, they've been spending a ton of money to build up AI infrastructure so that they can sell AI services to their customers. So if they're spending more money than they need to, and companies can get competitive with them at a fraction of the cost, that kind of hurts the argument that they have a strong competitive moat. Again, I think it's going to take time to see if that actually works out to be the case.
Yeah, there's just so many players now in the market trying to find that competitive advantage. We'll see if that low initiation fee, that low number for DeepSeek is truly accurate. All right, and I also want to ask you, because there's talk about it being open source. What does that mean, and how also does that alter the game a little bit?
Any kind of technology that's open source means that the source code's open for people, for coders and specialists to contribute to it, versus like a closed ecosystem that one company kind of runs and controls. The interesting trade you saw today was that Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, was one of the few big tech stocks that actually rose today, because the AI models they're building, called Llama, and that are open source as well. So this breakthrough from DeepSeek was seen as like maybe a bit of a validation for their approach compared to some of the others. But again, it's like theoretically you can get a lot more development at a faster speed when you go open source. There's always trade-offs, as there are with any kind of choice in tech, though.
No, that is a very good one. And I'm just to clarify on what it was. So that's very interesting. And like you said, pros and cons to everything. And let's talk about it, because it is a Chinese company. And we saw TikTok be in the news so much, and there was legislation that moved through for it to get banned, at least for a little bit before that executive order from Trump. Is that anything that you're watching in particular? How could that dynamic play into this?
I think it remains to be seen. I mean, it could certainly be the case, especially given the severity of the reaction today. Could Washington look at like further sanctions to try to kind of delay China's AI development even further, and what implications would that have for the tech companies in the U.S. that actually still sell a lot of chip technology to China? I don't know what that'll be, because it kind of takes a while for markets can be super reactive super quickly. It sometimes takes time for that to actually work into the political system and result in executive orders, laws, and so forth. So I don't know yet, but that's certainly a possibility given the environment.
All right, very good. And all this is very good information. I know in Silicon Valley, it feels like everything is moving at light speed, especially with DeepSeek. We talked about NVIDIA most recently as well. Anything else that you're keeping an eye on? Anything else that you want to impart to our audience before I let you go?
I think the thing to watch for in this question, and just generally in AI, is that we're coming into the earnings reports of a lot of these big companies. We're going to see Microsoft and Meta will report their results on Wednesday. Google and Amazon are going to be next week. Those are going to be important because in those calls, those companies usually are updating how much they intend to spend over the next quarter, even in the next year, on capital expenditures that involve their work in AI. So that'll actually be an important signal. Do they think they can now ratchet back their spending because there's been this breakthrough to make AI cheaper, or are they going to actually ramp it up because that's part of their advantage? That'll be something really interesting to watch that we're going to keep an eye on very closely here.
Yeah, the tech world is just so very fascinating as everyone trying to kind of find that competitive advantage, trying to get the leg up and trying to find everything new in terms of technology. Dan, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight as always here on Live Now.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great conversation there as always about it, and a live picture right now in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, moving at light speed, like I said, in terms of what we learned today, and the market's a little bit rattled by what we saw with DeepSeek, the new Chinese AI company that really entered the market, and it has already made a major splash. I want to put up this post here on Live Now from Fox, as well as this Chinese AI startup has surpassed already more than 1 million downloads in January, and it's hard to keep up with it, but we're continuing to follow it here. I want to bring into the conversation right now Bill Connor, Jitterbit CEO and President. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox to discuss this. Obviously, Jitterbit into the AI integration, into business automation as well. What do we make of this new involvement from DeepSeek, and is it living up to the hype? Have you played around with it at all? I think you're still muted here, Bill. Oh, it might be on my end. All right, go for it.
Yeah, Andy, thanks for having me.
Yep.
Yeah, we have played with DeepSeek, of course. We are in the digital automation and integration business, so we're a low-code platform, so next thing to AI. So we've been incorporating different AI models like LLM and RAG and others into our low-code platform to help augment that augmentation and integration and app building of the future. So yeah, quite familiar with it. It certainly, as you said, is a splash. Lots of news events in terms of it being cheaper, less capacity, open source, all of that we can talk about. And probably most notorious, it's from China. So last week we had the kind of new U.S. splash post all the elections and things here with kind of Stargate. I guess you can say this is China Gate, open splash with DeepSeek.
Yeah, it's so very interesting. And like you mentioned, we'll get into that, but the investment of hundreds of billions of dollars. But this learning language only took about $5.6 million to really get involved. How much do you believe that? How much is that a factor in making this splash?
I don't believe the 5 or 6 million they're talking about. That might have been their investment, but you know, this all comes from data because it's all data driven. All AI and all models are, whether it starts with machine learning or LLM. So certainly there's a lot of data they have available to them through other LLMs and through the Chinese government. The Chinese government, as you know, has a deep trove of data from everything that they do with their own country as well as others in TikTok and others. So they've got lots of data in their purview. They might have a lot of learning that either governments or other people put. There are a lot of startups in China around LLMs. This just happens to be the one that got the most sizzle, if you will, with the splash coming out of that. So clearly they're charging a lot less than an OpenAI model with 14 cents per 750. They say they're not capacity constrained. We can already see that's not the case. But a lot of people aren't talking about, you know, biases that are in that system. We've seen quite a few of those. And some of those are not, if you're housing your data in China and your models are built in China, by nature, you've got some privacy concerns with where the data is and the biases those models have around some of the intel or model answers that may not be what you think. So with any of these models, it's about what you're trying to accomplish and what you can get out of it and the accuracy of it and their biases.
Yeah, that's so very fascinating. And one of the other key aspects of it is that this is open source. And let's get into that point. And from a privacy concern, how concerning is that? What do we learn from knowing that it's open source?
Well, coming out of security, I kind of laugh at that one, Andy. Back in the security days, when encryption became big, there were over 6,000 different encryption technologies in open systems or open source systems. So, of course, they're available, they're cheaper, and they have all kinds of why their encryption was better. But if they were founded in Russia or China or other places, you might want to check the pedigree because those encryptions are probably known how to be beat. This is a Chinese algorithm. It is Chinese data housed in China. And if you're augmenting their LLM, your data for your customers or your own self, whatever you're using is stored explicitly, even in their own privacy, in China. So if you're GDPRQ or GDPR, any regulations, you just got to be careful with.
Yeah, it is maybe right to be skeptical, especially right away. And I want to put up this post because I was just looking at it, and it was from Reuters saying DeepSeek suffered a cyber attack causing a temporary limit in registrations. The Chinese startup claims its users cheaper chips and less data, challenging the idea of advanced semiconductors like those made by NVIDIA and others. I want to ask you about that because we continue to talk about open source, about privacy. Is it susceptible? Is DeepSeek susceptible to some of these concerns based on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Huawei way back was susceptible, right? That piece has gone through its things. Like, we don't know what, I mean, they say they used early vintage NVIDIA chips that were cheaper and those pieces, but we also know those can't perform more complex tasks at speed or cost. So we just don't know what that infrastructure is yet. We may never know, or we will know, but that's all about the transparency that we don't know at this point in the splash of the event. So it's really important for businesses to proceed with caution, understand which data you're putting in, what's being stored where, and is that valuable or potentially important data that you don't want elsewhere.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know at this point. So being cautious is the good advice. And of course, like we mentioned, the sizzle, the splash that DeepSeek is making. We just had Trump on Live Now from Fox, and he said at this annual retreat that this should be a wake-up call to the industry. Says it's a positive development because the U.S. has the best scientists. In terms of that, you mentioned Stargate as well. Does the U.S. government need to be wary of this technology and what it can do to businesses here in America?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Andy. I mean, I've talked both here and in the UK on this issue. It is really important. No country is going to control this technology. This technology is in the wild. It knows no borders. Certainly, the U.S. would be considered kind of the wild, wild west and innovator, but there are fast followers. And there are innovators around the world with deep technical know-how. And in this case, deep technical pockets. In some cases, there are governments that are going to spend a lot more money than ours has in developing that innovation and capability, either for good or for bad. Just like in the cyber arms race, we used it for good. Yep. There were bad people using cyber for bad. A bullet can be used for good, it can be used for bad. AI is built on data. It's built on models that are trying to predict outcomes. So you can assure yourself there are governments that are looking at both sides of that, including our own, on how it can be used for good and bad. No different than cyber, no different than much of the game-changing technology. And in this one, it's a multi-trillion-dollar play, as we've seen just by the numbers being floated here in this very early part of this game of the industry.
Yeah,
that
is a very good point. My last question, Bill, before I let you go, because we were reading up on this, and you appeared in 2012 before the House of Representatives here in the United States, talking about cybersecurity, talking about phishing, talking about weak authentication, and that must feel like a lifetime ago for you. Is there anything similar in terms of that time when technology was at that point and what we're looking at right now?
I think it's the exactly same thing. Just like quality had to be started with a lexicon, we've got a lot of people still understanding LLMs and how to use them and what they are. We need them to get past that part and understand the deep detail on it. But stuff like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, we need those used, because what RAG does, you surround that with or put that around LLM, you at least protect data. So I think it's an early thing, just like encryption, authentication, all those technologies were early on back in 2012. We're now starting a new game, an AI arms race, if you will, that we're all business people, technology people are going to have to come together and have a public-private partnership to understand and make use of it.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And like you said, it's kind of the wild, wild west of technology in terms of artificial intelligence. All right, CEO, President of Jitterbit, Bill Connor, thank you for your time, your insight, invaluable. It's a fascinating technology, but it's moving so very fast. Thanks again.
Best.
All right, thank you so much. All right, great conversation there, as always, as we're following the latest here on Live Now from Fox. Let's slide away for a quick 2-minute break. All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's take you right now out to the Windy City. Former Mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, at this community gathering. Let's listen in to what she has to say.
People simply filed suit. Now, one key milestone that I want to bring to your attention is when Clerk Key was stripped of her jurisdiction over FOIA. As you can see from the screen, she received an email from Keith Freeman on September 7th, 2023. And in this email, I'll read the body of it. Dear Clerk Key, I am writing to inform you that you are hereby removed from your duty as a FOIA officer effective immediately. Your inability to process FOIA requests in a complete and timely manner has left us no choice but to restructure our process going forward. The village has redirected FOIA officer duties to another party, and as such, your services are no longer needed. I have advised all department heads of the change. Now, I want to be clear that Clerk Key denies the various allegations in Freeman's email. But I want to lift up a couple things that I think are notable about this email in particular. when you see the language, the village has redirected FOIA officer duties to another party. Note in this email, he doesn't say who that other party is. And what we know from our investigation is that we were never able to determine who the person was that's actually handling FOIA and whether or not that person received the proper training. FOIA is not easy. There's a lot of nuances that are involved in the statute to make sure that there's proper compliance. We have no idea to this day whether or not the person or persons who was handling FOIA actually received proper training. There was no effort to take over the files of pending FOIA requests, and there was no process put in place for transitioning of the responsibilities from Clerk Key and her team to the unknown new FOIA officer. There's plenty of evidence, and again, I think you all have experienced it firsthand, that after Clerk Key was removed of her responsibilities over FOIA, the FOIA process didn't get better. If anything, it got worse. And these issues continue to this day. Now, let's shift gears, and we're going to talk about financial management concerns. There was an opportunity for the Village of Dalton to take advantage of a $5 million appropriation that had been put in place from one of the state legislatures on behalf of the Village of Dalton. And this was in the state fiscal year 2023. However, that appropriation, for some reason that we were not able to ascertain, was never taken advantage of, meaning those monies never came into the Village of Dalton. So $5 million that could have significantly helped the financial fortunes of this village got recycled and went elsewhere, but never came to the Village of Dalton. I want to talk to you next about the American Rescue Plan dollars and funding that came to the Village of Dalton. As many of you know, the American Rescue Plan was put into place by the Biden-Harris administration to help municipalities, cities, counties, states recover from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the village received an allocation through the state, which was appropriated in 2 tranches from the Illinois Comptroller's Office. And you can see in this chart, the first tranche came in September of 2021, and the next big tranche came again in September of 22 for a total of just over $3 million. The U.S. Treasury Department had very strict reporting requirements on how municipal governments use those ARPA dollars. Somebody was supposed to be designated as the ARPA reporting person responsible for making sure that they were complying with U.S. Treasury regulations. But contemporaneous documentation that we have seen and confirmed in recent communications is that no one from the village actually took the responsibility to complete the reporting information. The access to the reporting portal was set up for Ms. Miller, the former finance director, but there's no evidence that she actually made the required reporting of how ARPA dollars were used here in the village. And based on the records that we have seen, there's approximately $1.7 million left of the ARPA funds, and it's held in a specific capital projects account. Next. Based on what we've seen in the financial documents, the ARPA funds were used in a variety of ways, as you can see from this chart. As you noted, there's a big category of $481,379 called other expenses. This was used for a variety of different things, from construction materials and supplies, lawn care, pest control, utilities, sprinkler installation. but none of these things were specifically approved by the board. Now, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Amanda Kite, who's going to walk you through some more detailed information on the financial status as of October 31st, 2024. Take it away.
So now we're going to walk through and largely provide an update to the financial information that was presented back in August. And we've been provided records that cover the first 6 months of the village's fiscal year 2025. As of October 2024, the village's general fund, which is the fund that's used to account for the majority of the village's operations, remains in a net deficit position. However, the deficit position has decreased or improved from the information that was presented in August. And as of October 2024, the general fund's net deficit position is currently $2.4 million. Additionally, during the first 6 months of fiscal year 2025, the average monthly expenditures of the village have also decreased. Through fiscal year 2024, the village was spending on average $2.5 million per month. During the first 6 months of fiscal year 2025, that number's down to $2.1 million per month on average. Following along with that,
Can I just interrupt? Yep. I think it's also important to note that when we provided an update back in August of last year, which laid out many of these numbers and showed the village in really dire financial condition, the trustees immediately took action to address particularly the spending side of the ledger, significantly reducing the number of credit card access, working with banks, restructuring some of the expenses. So that accounts in part for the reduction in expenses. And as Amanda will explain, there are other factors that contributed to this, but I wanted to note that the trustees heeded the concerns that we raised back in August and took specific action, many times in opposition from Mayor Henyard, to make sure that they were starting a process of putting the village back on better financial footing.
so following along with that, the decrease in expenditures, through the first 6 months of fiscal year 2025, the village's expenditures have matched the revenues that came in during that time period. This is in comparison with the same time period in fiscal year 2024, where the gap in revenue to expenditures was almost $5 million. So the expenditure and revenue gap has improved. This gap decrease is for two primary reasons. First being, as of October fiscal 2025, revenues are approximately $3 million more than compared to the same time period in fiscal year 2024, which is largely due to the timing of when the property taxes were released to the village. In 2023 and 2024, property taxes weren't released until November or December, where in fiscal 2025, they were released much earlier. But additionally, expenditures have gone down, most notably general administration, police department expenditures, and public works. A couple of categories that we found significant decreases is in general administration, telephone, and miscellaneous expenditures, as well as in police department overtime and medical insurance. The village's cash balance has remained generally the same since the information that was presented in August. As you can see from the chart, as of May 2024, the general fund had an unrestricted cash deficit of almost $5.7 million. As of October 24, that amount is a deficit of around $5.5 million. And this deficit includes the amount of held checks that the mayor discussed previously. Those are reflected in these deficit balances. Regarding those held checks, as we presented in August, since March of 2023, and nearly every month since then, a portion of the checks that were approved and printed have had to be held. As of June 18, 2024, this was 589 checks that totaled over $6 million, which were approved but had not yet been sent to vendors. Since the August presentation, we've requested but had not been